recording.
Shall we call the January 12th, 2023 Parks and Recreation Board meeting to order? Call it to order here at 6:28 on January 12th, 2023. I'll have us do a roll call.
Scott Perrin.
Here.
Mary Hanson. Here. Foster Neal.
Present.
Mark Becca.
Here.
John Sparks.
Here.
Margaret Neiman.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the November 10th, 2022 meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second. We're making a motion and Foster seconding it. Are there any changes or anything that anybody noticed that like to suggest some modifications? Alright, so we can vote on those minutes. All in favor, can you raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any not approving? I think that's everybody. Cool. See, John's here. I'm guessing that since he's on the general business, are there any other public comments that not related to the agenda that any of us or anybody else has? Maybe our wise people from the wall could add to it. And then, will there be communications beyond the general business as well?
Yeah, I would be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Do we want to move into general business and then have John share, you and John share that date, and then we can go from there?
Sure. So I'll start off, and then John is gonna have the opportunity to speak to the board. Just real briefly, I want to let you know that last time we met, I let you know that we had received word from the CDBG that they are awarding us the $1 million grant that we applied for, specifically to go towards Playscape, and our match is the monies that we have allocated towards Splash Pad. So the total project is $1,599,000. And it's a significant undertaking that has to be done in a very relatively short period of time. Per the grant agreement, construction is allowed to begin as early as April and is expected to be completed by November. That being said, I reached out to John Coles and the end of last year and asked him if he had an idea in mind as to who we could have on our committee. We had our first official committee meeting just so that those that were interested in participating in this endeavor had an understanding as to what their role would be. Since then, I've expanded that committee membership and have invited Foster to participate, so we'll be meeting next Monday at 10 a.m. at City Hall. Those comprised of the committee are John Coles, myself, Josh Piles, again, Foster will be included, and then Mackenzie Curry, Alexis Hunty, and Sarah Fuller. And so our first initial meeting, very well taken in, and they are very knowledgeable about playground equipment and the needs that they can provide the services for in terms of the amenity and universal design and ages. So I think we're on the right track. And so because that initiative has begun and we've got to go on a fast-paced track, John wanted the opportunity to come to you and talk to you as a board and let you know that he's working on an initiative that would name the playground after an individual, which we're not at liberty to give out that name yet because we haven't had those conversations with the people that would be affected directly. But nevertheless, I'll give him the opportunity to expand on that.
Okay. Well, thank you, and sorry for my tardiness. I just came from a basketball game, and now I'm headed to basketball practice. So it's one of those nights. The committee that we comprised for the Playscape, those individuals were chosen not only for a variety of reasons. Lexi Hunty obviously owns and operates Hunty's Clubhouse. She has a great deal of knowledge in this space. Sarah Fuller has experience in accessibility with a wheelchair-bound son. And of course, Mackenzie Curry, small kids, does a lot of traveling, and has a good pulse in the community. So that's why those members were selected, and glad to have Foster on board now too. So we look forward to working with that committee. And that committee does not know what I'm going to propose to you. And to say that I've been working on it, I'm here to ask for your blessing and your approval to do so, because unlike the other 5 projects, part of the true Hemlock Park Improvement Project, right, I was in charge of all the fundraising, which included naming rights. And as you know, each of those projects has a naming right to it that we were able to secure. About 10 to 20% of the project's cost in that naming right. So Suzanne wrote a wonderful grant. Here we are with a new playground thanks to her work and your work. And I didn't have to do any of the work, which is even better. But how can I maximize this? How can we maximize this? And how can we develop a fund that maybe is used for maintenance towards the new playground? Here's my idea. Heather said we don't want to share the name because I don't want it to get to the person. However, I can describe the person without saying his name. You'll get the idea. Playscape was constructed about 25 years ago by 2 individuals. Pat Korecki and Leslie Daniels really spearheaded that. Their name is on the plaque in the entryway. They were instrumental. It was their idea. They led the charge. There is a Fair State employee who has about 32 years in right now, who is also very connected to that project, and his team has worked on that, the wood chips, for probably about 23 years. This individual will retire in the next 4 to 5 years. He has a group of individuals that will be looking to honor him. I have checked with the person who will spearhead that honor and a gift. I've asked, what if we could raise enough funds to name the new playground in that family's honor? Given that his wife was one of the chairpersons behind it, and that he and his team have worked on this playscape for 23 years probably. The individual who I spoke with, who would represent the alums of this person, absolutely great idea. We're all in. What would it cost? This is the question. If we stay true to the other 5 projects, it'd be anywhere from 10 to 20% of the complete total cost. Now, because this is already paid for, maybe we don't need to raise that much money, but we could definitely. There's no question we could make $20,000 in this sort of initiative, and that would be great. And of course, a maintenance fund of some sort for this new playground. So, those of you who maybe aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, I apologize. I just don't want it to get back to this person because, of course, I want your approval. And when the day comes when he does announce his retirement, I don't want to waste any time. I want to announce it then, and then start fundraising for the naming rights of the new playground. Sorry I wasn't able to articulate that better without. I just don't want to say his name. I don't want to get back to him or the family.
Now, for historical purposes, for your own knowledge, and this will be news to John because I had the items, the details for Roger tonight this afternoon, right before the end of the day today, actually. When Playscape was an idea and a concept that was a grassroots-driven project, and it was primarily done with fundraising efforts through the community. And people committed funds, and that's why there's all the memorabilia we all have spoken about. That being said, they did the same thing. They had a earmarked amount of money that they wanted to have set aside for specifically maintenance, and that amount was $20,000. Leslie Daniels was the co-signer on the bank account, and over the duration of the time that Playscape has been in existence, the interest that built on that particular account would then go to the city, and it was put into a fund that was dedicated that would be used towards the maintenance or the wood chips, etc. Leslie was the only one that was allowed to take money out of it, and so she did take a little bit out when she took on an initiative to do some major improvements in terms of painting and upkeep for the facility. So approximately right now we believe there's somewhere between $15,000 to $18,000 in the space account. Which Roger Schmidt is the only signer on there. Well, Aaron's on there too, but he's not in town, so that doesn't matter. Spoke to Roger today, and I said, your guys' group initiative is dissolved, it's going away. Do you want to take the money and put it towards the maintenance account, or would you like to take the Playscape money that was for maintenance and put it towards the new Playscape structure? And he said that he wanted to think about it, but initially his first reaction is dissolve the account, take the $15,000 or whatever it is, and put it towards the new play structure. So that way Playscape is going towards Playscape. Given that I spoke to him that you were trying to go about this initiative. Not sure if it progresses into you take some of that portion of the funding and you create a memorial or some sort of acknowledgement of contributions from the previous project that took place, because right before Roger retired, he recreated the donor board that you see as you enter into Playscape. It's a big, colorful, big plaque that recognizes everyone that contributed towards Playscape. And it's in a good condition, so it could almost be reused in some capacity, or we work with Roger to figure out a way to recognize the old Playscape, whether it be a picture of it when it was brand new versus when it was taken down, that kind of stuff. I mean, those are things that we can work through. But nevertheless, there's $15,000 that is going to be put towards the project. So it's happened before. This isn't a new concept to have an account that's dedicated towards maintenance, and I would recommend that if you're successful in doing what you are planning on doing, have the same kind of initiative where the money's there, it never gets touched in a short period of time, builds interest, and the interest then goes to the city and it can be used towards maintenance.
Yeah, I think we would hand this over to you all. All I would do is raise the funds.
Yeah.
And then turn it over to you.
It would be basically like a trust. Yeah. So, basically, at this point, I think John is just looking for your approval to move forward and starting that initiative.
I'm asking for the ability to name the playground and I guess that would be it. And then knowing that I turn over the money to the city. Doing it, again, would be consistent with the other projects that we've done, and it would maximize the dollars that we have coming in, right? We could grow this.
What kind of maintenance, aside from wood chips, if any, would be expected on this period?
For the new play structure, the maintenance that would be recommended would obviously come from the playground company themselves in terms of making sure that he's keeping up on the painting so the structure doesn't rust, assuming that we're getting a metal structure, but that seems like the most logical way to go. And then we've talked, in the grant, it called out that we would have the poured-in-place surfacing. That's similar to what you see at the fitness park. It's that blue, squishy stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not suggesting that it'd be blue, but it would be some sort of color. And when you have that type of system in place, you have to set aside a concrete base that has the ability to drain the water out. And to have a facility be maintained that is the port in place, there's a recommendation that every couple of years you get a vector truck, basically, it's a big vacuum, basically, and you suck out whatever sand or debris there may have been inside of that area. So that way you can make sure that it's properly draining over time.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be probably the only cost I could see associated in terms of maintenance, just making sure that we keep it debris free and that the waters can go where it needs to go and it doesn't get trapped underneath and then push the surfacing up as it freezes. And then again, painting and just staying on top of maintenance.
Yeah.
We likely will have swings,
Mm-hmm.
so depending on what kind of swings we choose, they have the handicap wheelchair harness ones. Those are plastic that have a tendency to become brittle over time because of UV and weather. They'll have to get replaced, likewise the swing. So it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like stuff that, like, painting, I'm guessing, we could probably go 5 to 10 years
Oh, probably.
before it would need that.
Mm-hmm.
And the vacuum truck
Mm-hmm.
is probably not thousands of dollars annually.
Well, we have a Vector truck on contract so that when we do need to use those services, we would coordinate it so that we wouldn't have a separate fee for driving in town.
Officer's point, I wonder if the money could go to overall Hemlock Park instead of maintenance. And that would be completely up to you. I just want permission to raise the funds. But if we're not going to use the money, if it doesn't need a maintenance fund, maybe overall Hemlock Park. I'll leave that up to you.
It could
I don't care where the money goes. I just ask them for permission to raise it.
when the money is solicited and you're successful to the level that you're comfortable with, what would end up happening, John, is that there would be more than likely a document drawn up as to what would those funds be allowed to be used for. And that would be based on your recommendations, and then we will draw it up that way.
So I think the big thing that I'm hearing is historically our committee has had preserved the rights for it. And so, we'd be just giving those naming rights to the citizen that's done it. And obviously using, funds for that park. And I think that's the main, thing as well, is just giving that grace, which we've typically done for fundraising. So are there any concerns from the board with kind of,
I mean, I kind of like the sounds like the John Cole place case.
That's not the name I had in mind. Thank you.
Very much. I'd like to say I like or approve very much naming a park in our city after an individual far above naming a park in our city after an advertiser.
No, sure.
See,
Well, we would be naming
I
the
don't want to
amenity.
see Meyer Park. No offense to Meyer or any other industry out there. See, but rather after an individual that it sounds as though that's what you're seeking.
It's an individual's
Who
name.
is
I would love to be able to
deciding?
talk about it, but
Who is deciding this name? Is it a committee? Is it a number of people? Or is it just John Cole deciding?
John Coles has been doing it over the course of the duration of his fundraising period.
Mm-hmm.
So, initially when John came to us, prior to COVID, I want to say, but the board gave John permission to do just what he's asking you now, and that is to name an amenity after those that have contributed. So this is a little bit different, that he wants to specifically name this amenity towards an individual to assist with getting additional fundraising, which is basically the same kind of thing in my mind.
That I'm very comfortable with, just not Coca-Cola Park.
No.
John, do you know who I'm talking about here?
Probably, but and actually,
A true bulldog who's been here for 32 years, whose wife was instrumental in doing this. His family's name, or
And
the reason I need to ask for permission, because this is not under the project that I've been working on, right? This money came separate to you all, and I don't see ownership of the new playground like I do the other 5 projects. That's why I feel like I have to ask permission, and I know I do. But that's the difference there.
We gotta get him to it.
Yeah.
I would
I think
motion
it's a slam dunk here.
Okay, so then
the proposal,
Yeah.
the name.
second for that, and and so I guess that motion would be to both allow for the fundraising, I would say, as well as, give you the authority for those making decisions would be the gist of that motion. And is there any need to modify that as far as we hear it? Okay, I guess any discussion on that? So all in favor of that motion to both allow John to do the fundraising connected to this project with the playscape as well as the naming rights. If you could say aye.
Aye.
Very good.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
And so this person has not announced their retirement yet, but as soon as they do, I want to be ready, and I want to as much money out of his players as I can.
So you want to kind of hold back on that?
Yeah.
Till
Yeah.
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 So just to clarify,
Yeah.
I wasn't clear at first. You say this individual's planning on retiring in 5 years. You want to announce it, not when they retire, but when they announce their retirement, which would be before they retire.
Correct. He won't be here 5 years. 5 more years.
Yeah. Okay.
Year or two,
Yeah.
3. And I want to be ready once he announces.
So
Sounds like a good idea.
do we have a timeline for when the new playscape might go in? I'm just trying to what if the playscape is in and he hasn't announced his retirement?
We'll just call playscape in the interim.
We just wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll just call playscape in the interim. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary that you have to have an amenity named. I mean, everybody knows it's a
There's
playground.
not a bylaw.
Yeah, no, not at all. The only bylaws or any rule that we have in terms of naming is there has been historically through the park board no naming of park by individuals. So the last one that happened was Vogel Field. After that happened, it was no more parks.
So then when people ask us, we'll say, okay, well, just wait. Or
Just call it a playground.
Yeah, cool.
Great.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
you
John.
for all your efforts.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your support and all you've done. We've made a difference together, so thank you. And good job.
Yeah.
See you, Jim.
Thank
All
you.
right. See you later.
Bye.
Is there anything else connected to the playscape or to that grant that you needed to share with us, or is that?
Nope, that was pretty much the update right there.
I definitely, sorry, go ahead. I just definitely like to voice my support in having the historical information that you mentioned. The more historical information we can put into a plaque or other kind of monument type thing, I think the better. It's always great when you can, 100 years from now, someone can be like, oh, look, there was this playscape and that playscape and this thing, and it just shows that community history that is so often not visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. and
Well,
a lot
probably.
of times you don't know the progression. And, you get the point, the point you're at right then, but you don't know how you got to that point.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to know all that kind of information.
Right. Especially if there's images included that you can show kids, this is what it used to look like when I was a kid.
That was pretty cutting edge in 1995 or so, whenever it came around, and it lasted so that our kids could kind of go there and all the different little things that people remember. So yeah, well, it's exciting though that we can move to the new millennium of playgrounds.
Yeah.
Was there, Margaret? Did you have things that you also wanted to ask?
No,
or share?
I just had to agree with Foster on that. I just had to say it's really important to know. You can always look at something and say, oh, well, that's really great, but you don't know all the trials and tribulations that went on to get to that point. and see the progression of it, of all
So, Josh, you want to take us into the pool?
Sure.
the.
So, pool committee and I, we met, we discussed really one main thing, which was swimming lessons and what we would like to do. Some of that involves some staffing, some ideas that were thrown out to help with having enough staff to offer essentially more swimming lessons. And I'm going to continue to work on those. We'll also continue to work with Ferris to see what they can do when it comes to staffing for lifeguards as well. But while all of that is progressing, what we looked at was offering some evening lessons as well as doing 3 days a week for some of the lessons. And so I believe you each have a schedule in front of you or in your packets. Pool season right now is set to start June 5th and end August 11th. And all the lessons are for a period of 5 weeks. The regular lessons are basic swimming lessons. So level 6, 1 through 5, 6, 7, 8 would be offered on 3 day a week offerings. You could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 to 11, any of those time slots. Or you could do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday and Thursday evening, and Saturday morning. Trying to offer some different slots for people who can't just make it in your early morning during the week. That's one of the biggest things we heard this last year, especially with Ferris Pool not being open, is I want my kids to take swim lessons, but I cannot do anything in the morning. So if we can offer something in the evenings, plus maybe something on a Saturday, we're hoping that we can hit more people. And then the other classes that would be offered still 5 days a week are your late afternoon, your basic water safety, handicap swim, water babies, adult lessons and stuff like that in the evening. So that stuff would stay consistent at 5 days a week. It's the younger swimming lessons that we would be doing at 3 days a week. So on the back side from there, what you would see is the price change to correspond with that. If you were to do the 5 day a week lessons, the prices stay the same for you. If you were to choose to do the 3 days a week, this would be your price range now.
What would make me a non-resident?
Living outside the city of Big Rapids, outside the city limits.
City limits.
Yep.
So if you have a Big Rapids address, but you live outside the limits, you're not considered a resident of Big Rapids.
That's correct.
Okay.
The townships, even down in the Rocky Heights. Yeah.
Correct.
Do we have any tracking data of pool use, residents versus non-residents?
I have not sat down and calculated it, but we do track when people come in, whether they are city resident or what township they may be from or whatever. So I haven't sat down and actually deciphered that, but we have that.
Last year, just anecdotally, it did definitely seem that we were getting the talk with people on swimming, more and more people that were coming from distance, in Royal County, Lee City, and other places. So clearly there's, non-residents that are saying, hey, this is one of the only pools in town that we can, or pools around that we can access. And so I think the more accessible it is, you might even see greater use for those swim lessons. Those evening plus weekend, all of a sudden somebody from outside of Big Rapids could be driving down and letting their kids.
Is there campaign aimed at non-residents to do we send swim lesson information to the city schools?
We could.
I'm just curious.
I don't know that there ever has been in particular. But to be honest, at first I would probably be a little hesitant to do that right away.
Yeah.
Because the swim lessons fill up.
Yeah.
Filling the swim lessons has never been the issue. It's been a matter of having enough lessons to offer other people. Mm-hmm. So I would say just offering this and putting it out to everyone, putting it in the Pioneer and everything like that, by all means. But I'd be hesitant to
flood it too much.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to end up possibly dealing with having to turn people away too.
Yeah.
So.
Do our school zones that we have, middle school, high school, so elementary, match the city limits? In other words, are there families, children in our middle school that are outside of the city?
Yeah, thanks to the No Child Left Behind Act, someone from Detroit could choose to go to Big Rapids School.
But realistically, there are plenty of people that drive up from down in, like Canadian Lakes and Orleans, Canada, and Reed City. So, and they'll hear about it if they're in our schools, but it'll be up to them. It'll just be that they're not getting the resident rate. They don't pay any taxes.
So everything in the pricing stays consistent with what we have been doing. The only difference is the 3 days a week. I broke the 5 days a week price down to what is it a daily cost, and just multiplied it out by a 3 day a week, and made sure that it rounded in accordance with. We have a $20 gap in every single category everywhere else. It's a $10 gap for this one because it's 3 days a week.
Reasonable. Very reasonable.
Great.
The only thing I need is from you guys, if you approve of this, I shouldn't say the only thing, but if you approve of this schedule and trying to pursue going forward this year with this schedule, is a recommendation from you to the commission, recommendation from you to the commission to accept the fee schedule because of the adjustment for a 3 day a week.
So you need a motion to recommend to the commission to approve this schedule and patient.
The fee schedule, yes.
The fee schedule. Yep. Great. I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that before we vote? I'm just excited about doing the pool. Cool. Let's take the vote on that. All in favor of this change in the 2023 fee schedule, and whoever with the attachment time to support that? Say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you again. I think it's okay. Thank you. Can you move your office down to the pool?
Yeah, about May. I will. I'll move my office down there and run the pool and work out of both, kind of. But yeah.
I hope you have some really nice inspirational posters. Hang on your wall.
Down the pool.
Down the pool.
Yeah. If not,
no running.
We'll get you some hockey posters and music. And
Mark Spitz, 7 gold medals.
There we go.
Speedo. Okay. That would be appropriate.
My hero.
Margaret just got flushed down there. Yeah, you remember that poster, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Cool. What's going on with our CIP?
Yeah, so we're in full-blown capital improvement project time frame, and I just wanted to share with you some of the projects that we have submitted, well, I should say Josh has submitted on behalf of Public Works for the 2023-2024. There's a lot of requests, all of which, you know, just like Christmas, you ask if for a present, you're not going to get everything, right? So we have slated for 23-24 fiscal year a ask for additional funds towards Hemlock Park improvement project. I'm pretty sure that's going to get some sort of funding towards it if necessary, but after we've received that CDBG grant, I think we're sitting pretty comfortably. That's assuming that the playground equipment doesn't come in higher than what we planned for, but I mean, everything seems to be coming in higher than what we planned for too. So, the Depot Park Trailhead development is another request for $100,000 to go towards our grant application. The intent has been to apply for the Spark grant. That's a new grant, and it has 3 separate rounds. We've submitted the first round. We wait to hear from the state in terms of what they were going to be funding. And then, like I said, if it's not funded, we already have the application ready to go, so we can submit it at least 2 more times. So that's just basically waiting. Muskegon River retaining wall, the retaining wall that's there at Hemlock Park by the bandshell on the Housing Commission's property is failing, and it has a hole. Everyone's seen it. Everyone knows how dangerous that spot is. We have a grant application in to the state of Michigan in hopes that we can get funding towards that retaining wall, and a commitment from the Housing Commission and the City Commission to both contribute $250,000 as our grant match together towards that project, which is estimated around $1.5 million to have that retaining wall redone, is that project. Skate park project, again, that would be another grant request that we're going to put in. That's the DNR trust fund that's due in April. The trust fund will grant up to $300,000, and so it will be the match equivalent to, typically we go about 25% of whatever our request is, and it's usually over the $300,000. Pool Marsite, the deep end of the pool. Josh wrote it in here as a couple years of setting aside some funding for it, but that project that's near $158,000. But by the time we get there, it'll probably be like $300,000. So see what happens with that. North End Riverside Park restroom, again, put a contribution towards there. This project is something that I know the city manager would like to see in fruition eventually at some time. North End Riverside Park is getting more and more use, and that's a good thing, but we know that we've heard from people that rent the pavilion or utilize the facilities or amenities there, they would like to see restroom facilities at the park. Our challenge has always been that we don't have water service available there, and we don't have sewer, which will require a lift station, which is what really has held us up from just making it happen. So there's a requirement that we would then more than likely either extend water service and put in a drain field, or we would drill a well and put in a drain field, which would actually take up pretty much all of the wooded area there just south of the playground. So likewise, if it were to go north of the volleyball court. So that's a project that, should it come into fruition, it would drastically change some of the North End Park features. And then another request is to put in a restroom at Sweet Hill Park. Again, just trying to plan for if we're successful with the skate park trust fund grant application. We'll see higher usage. Again, there's no restroom facilities at that location. And another challenge, like I mentioned before, with North End Park, we would have to put in those mini lift stations because the sewer line is there at the top of the hill at 4th Avenue, and so we would have to hit the sewer application. So those are the 23-24 requests. We have to plan out for 6 years out to keep us in compliance with the RRC. That's the Redevelopment Ready Community, and it's the state initiative which allows us to get grant funding through the CDBG and things of that nature. So that's part of that process, and those were the ideas that we had to request money for. Yeah.
So, Heather, what's our annual cost for porta johns versus the eventual cost of doing well and all that other stuff?
Trina would know better than I. She handles all the invoices. She's a sweetheart.
She's a porta john expert.
Yeah. How much is the city paying on porta john cost maintenance for annually for parks? I don't.
Like the winter bill right now is $1,040. I just paid that today. But I mean that's like a quarter. Because summer is like, I don't remember what the bill was like. 2,100.
And we have
a month?
Yeah.
And we have Porta Johns at North End and Industrial.
Volvo, dog park, train depot.
Yeah.
Right now, Hemlock Park.
Right. So the Porta Johns at North End are only like 1/5 or less of the total Porta John cost.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, this year that doubled. Like North End doubled in the last. We had to double the Porta Johns in.
Yeah.
It's definitely the park that has the greatest increase in usage, where it makes sense if there is going to be something.
So maybe 20,000 a year, because this is low usage time. You said it.
Mm-hmm.
So the high usage months, 2,000 times 6, 12,000, and then the others, so rounded up to 20,000. So we're spending 20,000 a year on Porta John. How much would it cost to do all these other permanent?
If you install restrooms at North End, it would only remove like 1/5 of the total Porta John cost. So if we're spending $20,000 annually by installing a restroom at North End, we would save $4,000. Right? We'd still be spending $16,000 on the other Porta Johns at other locations.
Sure. Yeah.
To answer your question, Mark.
I think the usage of the river, that riverside, or the North End would be much higher. It really bugs me to go up there and use those.
So
they're terrible at times.
approximately $500,000.
What's that?
Approximately $500,000.
$500,000. Okay. So
It's because of that well and water service, drain field, all that. That's what really eats up the cost.
And that well up there is drained. That's good water coming out of it. I mean, people fill up their.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we got a water source, and we keep the Porta Johns fresh. Versus we just spent $500,000 for bathrooms.
It's a dream. There's no doubt about it. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed. I don't know that it'll happen next year, but it's definitely something that we have recognized, and so is the city manager.
Okay. All right. Just a thought.
For the long term, if things continue, if the community continues to expand, if we continue to have economic growth and new people coming to town, we're going to see the north side of town, both sides of the river, be a heavily utilized area based off of what we were anticipating. And that's one way to think about it is short term, probably not needed. Right? Long term, that could be the Hemlock Park of the future.
Absolutely.
Did anything ever come of the request for a garage for grooming equipment for our portion of Rails to Trail?
Oh, with the Snowmobile Club? So they had their meeting and they did not, as a group, come into agreement that that was a necessary facility that they needed. Okay. So, the ball was in the court and they said no.
And am I correct that North End is the largest park by acreage? Larger?
If it's not that one, then it's Quake Left.
Yeah.
I think Quake Left might be bigger.
It might be. You're right. You might be right there. Although I don't know.
Because we acquired additional properties after the Board family had the.
Do you know how many acres? Like this?
No, but I can get you the information.
I'm just curious.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
For a disc golf course, you typically want something like 20 acres minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And I figure North End is probably much more than 20 acres in just the disc golf course. And then,
sure.
I don't know where the border between Sweet Hill and North End is, but all the way up to the Riverwalk, I mean, that's probably, I would guess, in the ballpark of 80 acres.
And I don't have a good handle on that, but I can find out because it's in our Park and Rec master plan. Mm-hmm. It's called out, so I'll find that information, take a tip, and I'll send it to you. So you get
One thing that I was just scanning in here might be, if it's not so crazy big, it might be nice to re-add the master plans to the binders. I was looking at it after we changed it. I don't see the updated plan.
You mean the 5-year one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just because something like that, so I was kind of looking to, who knows it wasn't in there. Rather read that than the open meeting act.
My thinking with the acreage is just that it's a really strong argument for continued upgrade to facilities at North End Park if it has the greatest capacity of usage just by square footage alone, right? Like more people can walk on the trail, park, to disc golf, volleyball, playground. Just holds more people. If it holds more people, that's a lot more waste the car away.
All good problems.
So does that wrap up this capital improvement?
That's it.
So I do see that we do have the discussion the open board position. Is that going to happen then this evening?
Yeah, if somebody here wants to be taking on that role, they're welcome to.
Yeah, and that was that we are lacking one board member, right?
We are lacking a board member. We have no interest indicators since the last time we met. And we have a new employee. Her name is Lily. She is our communications / PR person. So she's going to be really hammering home here in the next few months, trying to get some board positions filled because this is the only board that is lacking members. So it's not that we don't have anybody that's interested. I just don't think people know the process. If that makes sense. So
We can put out feelers if this resident tree.
pretty much. But yeah, if anybody sitting here would like to take on the role as chair or would like to nominate somebody as chair, Scott, you are the vice?
Co-chair according to what this
Yes,
is.
the co. So if you want to become chair, if somebody else, it's up to you guys.
After doing it.
God, you do a darn good job.
Scott's doing a good job.
If you're willing, we can make it happen.
And I'm serving for another. I know this is old, but whatever's in here. I think I got a couple of years. Just want to make sure.
I think this is the latest one. So.
I definitely think the chair should be somebody that's been on the board for
So you're good till 25.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd be.
Perfect.
I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
Yes. Should we vote then? I'm going to abstain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Does anybody have interest in the co-chair? In the event that he's absent?
I'd like to be able to travel.
I don't hear anybody looking for that one right now. We can revisit it when we get another board member on board and then go that route. Okay.
Is there any scheduled business of it? We'll see that February 9th is going to be our next meeting. Is there anything that we want to bring to the board?
So you are correct. February 9th is our next meeting. Like I said before, some of you were in attendance. This room is getting renovated. And so that is actually the week that they'll be ripping the carpet out of here and there won't be any furniture. So considering we usually have pretty light attendance for our meetings, I was going to recommend that we just meet in the commission conference room directly across the hall.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
And that way we can still hold our meeting.
Okay.
But
I mean, Schubert sounds like a more fun location.
it does sound like fun, but this is business.
It's a little hard to hear.
I know.
Shall we adjourn then?
Sounds good.
7:17.
Appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for coming in tonight.
You good at my phone?
Thanks, Karina. Appreciate it. Josh, thank you.
Thank you.